G'day trendsetters, you may have heard the rumours, you may have seen spy photographs posted about various internet forums. Well, it's finally here. Shimano has launched their 100% wireless variant of Shimano GRX Di2 12-speed for 1x. This pilot path represents a build that involves that new drivetrain, and inside one of these boxes is the rear derailleur and the new battery architecture, which I'll show you shortly. With that said, I completely expect the comment section below to light up with comments such as, about time Shimano, what have you been doing the past few years, etc, etc. Better late than never, right? Let's crack on. This new group set leverages the fully wireless cockpit components, meaning the shifter levers that we have seen launched earlier by Shimano for road and gravel, whether that be for the 2x wireless GRX Di2 12-speed shifters, Dura-Ace, Ultegra or 105. On a similar vein, be sure to check out my long-term comprehensive review of Shimano GRX Di2 12-speed for 2x. It's linked in the description below. There aren't many unique parts that comprise the GRX 1x 12-speed Di2 for GRX drivetrain versus the existing 2x GRX Di2 12-speed drivetrain. But the big one is, of course, the all-new wireless rear derailleur. Let's get a close look at the derailleur right now. Stating the obvious, this derailleur is quite sizable versus the wired derailleurs we've seen in the past. In reality, this derailleur is almost the same as the recently launched MTB variants. Essentially, this is a rebadged mountain bike derailleur. There's one cage length for this derailleur and it supports a 10 to 51 12-speed cassette. With that said, I will be testing other ratios for 12 speeds. Other features of the derailleur, so it has a low profile wedge design and the chain stabilizer unit, aka the dual spring inside here for chain retention, etc., is designed to keep that chain from slapping about the place. Pardon me, dog in the background. Shimano's done their best to eliminate sharp edges on the derailleur and ideally glance off obstacles should you encounter during your ride. Continuing the techie points here, the wide link structure, durable plate, skid plate design and solid pulleys. Notice them there. Those pulleys are designed not to catch any sticks, no holes, no sticks, etc. That's the plan. Not exactly new technology when you think about that. We've seen these sorts of pulleys from many, many years ago. But all these features add up to this device being survivable, so to speak, in the dodgiest of conditions. But it doesn't really win any awards for beauty. You can also see the high-low bolts right there for setting the limits, etc. You may be wondering, where does the battery reside? Well, it's well hidden away. This is a hatch. You slide this lever here to the left and it pops the hatch open to reveal the battery compartment. The battery can only be installed in one direction, so it's mostly idiot proof. Pop it in like that. It'll sit down into its appropriate position. Then we take the hatch, make sure it's lined up, slide it back on, and you hear the reaffirming click and you are good to go with the battery installed. Brake lever and caliper set. This is for the right side. Here is the right side brake and shift lever. It is identical to the GRX 2x12 speed levers launched with that particular group set during 2024. Of course, these are fully wireless nowadays, and you've got your two shift buttons or whatever functions you decide to assign to them. And there's also this extra button up here that you can assign functions as well. Here is the left side, and there is a special brake lever without any guts, which I'll cover later in the video. The fully functional left side shift and brake lever is exactly the same as the GRX Di2 12-speed 2x, except of course there is no front derailleur to shift. So you can assign these buttons to do all sorts of madness. Shift the rear derailleur, accessories, whatever you are into, and again, fully wireless of course. The group set also adds an optional unique brake lever that is completely devoid of any guts, so to speak. So there's no electronic components. It's a simple brake lever for the left side only, and its function is simply to slow down the bike. Unfortunately, I don't have a sample available. 12-speed chain, that stays the same, no worries there. Disc brake rotors, nothing unchanged there. The new battery charger and the new battery, otherwise known as BT-DN320. Here is the battery charger unboxed. And here is the ultra cute battery for the rear derailleur. It is tiny. Here is the packaging for the 1x and 2x cranksets. Inside is a 1x crankset for the new drivetrain, but nothing has changed about it. Here is the crankset. I've spec'd it with a 40-tooth chainring and 172.5mm long crank arms. Of course, there is a non-drive side crank arm inside the box right there. One of the rear derailleur's other new features is an update to the crash mode function, nowadays known as automatic impact recovery. Some of you may be familiar with the crash mode function from the older Di2 models, whether they be for GRX, Ace, etc. If you were unfortunate enough to slam the derailleur into the ground, or perhaps trigger the crash mode from slamming the bike through a crazy huge pothole, the crash mode disengaged the motor from the derailleur, basically protecting the mechanism from impact damage, etc. Of course, the derailleur was then inoperable until you reset the system. This new derailleur, it happens automatically. No thought involved, so if you do have an impact that's going to trigger that impact mode, it sorts itself out without you even having to worry about it. Battery life is obviously going to depend on the amount of shifting you hammer out on this derailleur, but you can expect about 700 kilometers to 1000 kilometers, or for those riders who prefer the imperial nomenclature, about 435 miles to 621 miles. Let's now chuck the new derailleur onto the gram scale. 450.5 grams. Let's add the battery. 473.5 grams for the entire operational rear derailleur. For those who are curious what these shifters weigh, even though they've been on the market for a while, right shifter, 221 grams, left, almost the same. Okay, so there's the pair. Adding to this goodness, there's also a new budget-oriented wheel set for the GRX product line. They are of aluminium construction and designed to deliver performance, resilience, and more for your adventures on the gravelly roads less travelled. The new RX 180 wheels are tubeless ready and feature a 25mm internal rim width, and they will cater to tyres measuring from 32mm up to 50mm in width. The new wheel set also incorporates a redesigned pull ratchet rear hub system. The new hub allows for easy conversion between microspline and Shimano's HG-L free hub standard to accommodate drivetrains for 1x or 2x, etc. So that's the details of the new group set covered. Now it's time to switch over to my mate Peter of Brickyard Bike Company of Phoenix City, Alabama, just across the Chattahoochee River from Columbus, Georgia, because we're going to build this new grip set onto a frame for your viewing pleasure. Long-term review of this grip set will be coming later. let's get going on the build. Trendsetters, welcome to Brickyard Bike Company. Here we are in Phoenix City, Alabama. There's Pete. He's gonna knock out the build today of the new GRX Di2 1x12 speed that is highly confidential at the time of this recording. Look, Mum, no hands.
Look, Mom, no hands. So we're building up this Linsky again with the new GRX 12-speed Di2. It's not out yet, but it's gonna be pretty cool. We're gonna mount up brakes, and then we're gonna do shifters, and we're gonna install a new bottom bracket, crankset, derailleur. You know, make this bike live again. So I'm gonna snip this guy. Thread in the hose. The routing's pretty easy on this bike, but just never really know what you might get hung up on, so. There we go. Everybody talks about how hard internal routing is. Well, it can be sometimes, but if you give yourself a leg up and you got everything pre-routed and you got nice big holes in the frame and the handlebar, I like big holes because it makes it super easy to route all our stuff. And this is also going to be wireless, so we only have to worry about hoses. Now I'm super happy that Shimano's kind of jumping on board too and going full wireless.
It's only been about 15 years in the making. I mean,
but when Shimano does it, they do it right.
yeah. I expect this to be flawless performance.
Flawless. Just jam it up in there. Comes out the other side. Doing a quick build today. I'm sure if you're watching this video, you've seen some other ones that we've done. I do like to talk in detail about what we're doing. This one I'm just doing quick and dirty. That's what I love about wireless group sets, is that you can, in theory, you can build them super fast. A lot less complicated than your cable variants. There you go. So I've already mounted my 140 to 160 adapter on the brake, and I torqued that to specification. And put a little safety pin in there so that little bugger doesn't come out. I've already sized the bolts. This bike has skinny little 15 millimeter chain stays, so I had to get shorter bolts from my bolt kit. That really only gets used when John's in town. Because we don't do too many custom builds, but when we do, it's usually for this guy. Get that loosely done. I'm gonna take out all this slack here. Pull it through. Then I'm gonna do the front bolts. These are just one size fits all. This fork is a 140 direct mount, so I've got this mount pointing up for 160.
Peter, I've asked this question of you before. I pronounce it lever. You pronounce it
Lever.
okay. So that's like saying you say potato and I say f*** off.
Yeah, pretty
right,
much f off. F off with your English or your Australian semantics. It's aluminum, not aluminium.
No, it's an eye missing, mate. What are you talking about? An argument for another time.
We're mounting up our levers, our levers. I just set them up loosely, parallel to the drops. These ones have similar curvature to the new road shifters. Not so new, but they came out like 2 years ago. They got a little bit of curvature to them because they're intended to be tilted inward. And measure your shifter. A little high on this one. There you go, perfect. Make sure I got enough room here. A little bit of slack, so if he turns all the way, we're not gonna yank our hose out. Grab my marker. Oh, is that a marker or is that a wheat strip? Found my marker. I shouldn't keep it in the same pocket as I keep my beef sticks.
Good advice.
It's a tasty meat stick though. All right, so we're pressing our barbs in. Shifters, when they come in a kit, they come with an olive installed with the fixing nut. I got my tool tightened up. Shouldn't slip now. There we go. Hold on, little guy. I like to hand press the barb in first and then shove her in there. The tool keeps needing adjustment. It's getting old. There we go. I'm going to cut it nice and flush or else it could leak out of the barb. Insert the hose into the shifter. Just slipping just a little bit too much. All right, we're right there, baby. Just doing a little bit of cleanup. We don't want any hydraulic mineral oil getting all over your fancy NV bar tape after I wrap it. But I definitely don't want it on here before I wrap it because I want it sticking to the bars. And oil is really good at preventing stuff from sticking, like your brakes, your brake pads, or your bar tape. And get everything nice and clean before you put it all together. Put some anti-seize. There's threads here.
Peter, is that to prevent galling, as they would say?
Or galvanic corrosion is what I like to call it. Galling sounds a little bit sexual. Something about it just sounds sexual to me. I don't know.
Gall.
Oh yeah. You gotta get it. Gonna get it in there. There we go. Ooh.
I mean, I'm sure some naturalist would say this here ring.
Look at that grip strength. Hand threaded bottom bracket. Hand threaded. Got strong hands.
Peter, that's a very nice torque wrench you have there.
Oh, thank you. It's my baby. My Park Tool BBT 59.2. There's like 7,000 different bottom bracket tools because there's 7,000 different threaded bottom bracket interfaces. So all the haters for press fit bottom brackets, just know that there's like 7,000 different tools so that you can thread your bottom bracket into your bike. Installing the cranks. Already installed the bottom bracket. Just wiggle it in there. Pretty standard Shimano crank. Take the preload cap, screw it in. And I pop this cap in place, and then torque our bolts evenly. Torquing our crank bolts. You know, like they say, size matters. Size does matter. Shimano. Even if she says it doesn't matter, it does matter.
All right.
Look at the size of that cassette.
That's a 10 to 51, mate.
Holy moly. Oh, that'll get you up the mountain.
You ever watch the Big Legs show?
Yeah, I'm sick, mate.
All right. Got our Robert Axle project axle threaded through. Get it snugged up. This is first here, sizing the chain on this GRX groupset.
Incidentally, folks, that is a 40-tooth chainring, and that is a pretty much mountain bike cassette, 10 to 51.
Hell yeah.
But because this is the Gravel Cyclist YouTube channel, we're also going to try out Peter 11 to 36 as well,
Yep, tiny cassette.
relatively speaking.
I'm gonna size this chain. I'm just gonna size it the same way I would a mountain bike chain because I don't have any documentation on this derailleur yet. So I'm basically gonna cut, I got extra 2 links.
And this is a regular 12-speed road chain. Nothing rocket science about it.
My pliers here. The Shimano quick links are the strongest. You gotta actually like lift weights to like set those quick links. They're powerful. All right. We are in there, dog. They're all greased up. We're not gonna go finger tight on these bad boys. Oh yeah, we're right in there, baby.
Peter loves the torque click and peeling the plastic off an infotainment center in a vehicle.
Or a shifter.
Plus she showed up, what, 30 minutes after you guys got
That's there, where my finger is at, is the button to pair with the app, etc. It's difficult to see. Hopefully you can sort of see it there. If I hold it down, there we go. It's gone into Bluetooth pairing mode, and that's where I will pair it with the app and ultimately pair the shifters.
We're just setting it up for the first time. Oh, barely made it.
Needs some adjusting, Peter.
Put it in adjustment mode. I'm gonna add a few clicks, add 2 clicks. Add 1 more. I'm gonna set the B tension first. There's a little indicator on the back side of the derailleur cage. It says low, and it's got 2 little arrows on it, and that's where I want to line up this lowest cog with that line on the back of the derailleur cage. Just like the mountain bike stuff, there's a little line right there. I normally don't like reusing re-wrap bar tape, but I wrapped these handlebars last, so.
And that tape is mint.
I don't like wrapping other people's crappy wrap jobs, if that makes any sense. It's my favorite part of any build, is just finishing it, wrapping it up, figuratively and literally. There we go. So that's where I wanted it to be. Right there.
Peter, that looks bloody beautiful, mate.
Looks like it's straight out of the factory.
Your factory.
Yeah, my factory.
First impressions time. I stated it earlier, Shimano has taken way too long to arrive at the fully wireless shifting party, but knowing Shimano, they have that technology completely dialed in and it's 100% bomb-proof. Of course, only time will tell. I have no way of measuring shifting speed, but the wireless solution by Shimano appears to be on par with their other wired Di2 offerings from earlier generations and their latest semi-wireless options. I'm wondering how long it will be before we see the fully wireless technology trickle over to the existing semi-wireless road group sets and GRX Di2 for 2x12 speed. I realise ruggedization is needed for an MTB or gravel variant of a rear derailleur, and I certainly hope that Shimano figures out some way of reducing the physical size of the rear derailleur with a future release. I love how Shimano has integrated the battery inside this derailleur. It's well hidden inside and thus protected from the elements. And I also love that you can easily pair the GRX wireless derailleur to any of the existing wireless shifters by Shimano, whether they be for MTB or road. Regarding the 1x gearing options, I'm not a huge fan of the default 10 to 51 tooth cassette with its 2 cog jumps towards the bottom. In Shimano's defense, you have to sacrifice cassette gaps somewhere with a 1x configuration. They've obviously chosen to have those smaller jumps towards the top end of the cassette. I freely admit I've been a little bit spoiled by some of the 13-speed cassette ratios offered by a couple of other prominent manufacturers. This now raises the point of 13-speed in the case of Shimano. I've possessed the wireless GRX Di2 for 1x for a little while now, and I had intel on the MTB variant. I was really hoping that Shimano would have just pumped out a 13-speed version of this drivetrain, particularly for the gravel and MTB line of things. I expect the issue may be related to a technical challenge. The UDH method for mounting derailleurs, you can squeeze in a 13th cog in the space of 12, and perhaps Shimano wasn't too interested in going down that road. I really don't know, that is conjecture on my behalf. With that said, the positives for Shimano's new wireless drivetrains: you don't need a special frame, or if you do have a UDH frame, you can acquire an adapter and run the 12-speed wireless all day. I will produce my long-term review of this new group set a little further down the road, but I am stoked to see that Shimano has finally jumped onto the fully wireless shifting drivetrain. Rightio trendsetters, that wraps up another fantastic build and features video concerning the far wrong. All right, trendsetters, that wraps up today's video. Many thanks to Pete for helping with this build project. That's his specialty, custom builds, all sorts of stuff. Only a Brickyard Bike Company, my go-to for custom builds, etc. And of course, this was a build of Shimano's brand new to market GRX Di2 1x12 speed. As always, thank you for watching. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the Gravel Cyclist YouTube channel for real world, no bull build videos such as this one, Peter. And of course, features about GRX Di2 1x, etc. Other product reviews, ride experience videos, and of course, one of my favorite things in life, really, general madness. Hey trendsetters, we're here in the bike shop and these two twat bags are discussing the virtues of flat pedals versus clipless pedals. I love clipless pedals. What do you think? Chime in the comments below.
Flat pedals suck.
Peter, what the f am I doing with my life?
I don't fucking know either.
We'll see you in the next video.